Tonight the Royals will face right-hander Vin Mazzaro. They have not seen him before, so here's the KCA pitching report.
Well, with him, Ryan, you're just looking for a two-seam fastball with some sink and cut. He won his first 2 starts, and he's been winless since. So this is a good opportunity for the Royals to be a little bit patient at the plate, making those strikes, and this is a great situation where if they get off early, they got a chance to win this ball game.
The lineup that Vin Mazzaro will face, presented by M&I Bank. Well, Trey Hillman wanted Josh Anderson to ease in, so he batted 9th and played in right last night. Tonight, center field batting 2nd. Brian Pena will hit 4th again, and with a right-hand pitcher on the mound, Mike Jacobs is in there as the DH. He will bat 7th. We saw Josh Anderson's impact last night with this nice play in right field, showing off his arm. Also had a bunt single. We'll see what he does tonight as the Royals' number 2 hitter against the Oakland A's. The first pitch is next. Especially over the past couple of weeks with trades. So a lot of young players in their batting order. Here it is, presented by M&I Bank. An offense that doesn't score a lot of runs. They're 12th in the league. They're last in the league in home runs, believe it or not. But they have begun to be more of a running team. The Oakland A's have the 5th most stolen bases in the American League. They'll be facing Brian Bannister for the 2nd time this year. Here's the KCA scouting report.
Brian, the one area that Brian's really been happy is with his ground ball. 73% of ground ball out since the All-Star break. And he's 4-3 here at the K, but he, again, a victim of lack of run support. 5.4 run support in his wins. So if he can get out to if the Royals can get out to a fast start tonight, it'll probably make him really relaxed based on how hard he had to work to stay in the game in his last outing at Tampa Bay.
Veteran Adam Kennedy is playing at third base for the A's now and leading off. Longtime second baseman of the Angels, then the Cardinals. Played briefly with Tampa Bay to begin the year, and now with Oakland, and he's down on 2 pitches. Bannister faced the A's back on May the 13th. Gave up 2 runs in 5 2/3 innings. Royals lost that game 7-2. Here are the Royals defensively tonight. Bannister got off to a very good start against Oakland back on May the 13th. 5 great innings, but then he was out in the 6th with some shoulder tightness, which was a big red flag, but didn't miss his next start, and he's been fine since. A cool night in Oakland. And jams Davis. Betancourt's going to have to hurry. Davis can really fly, and Betancourt throws him out, 2 down. .90 degrees at first pitch. Game started on time at 7:10. Time and temp brought to you by the parking spot. Easy to spot, easy to park. The parking spot at KCI. So 2 more ground balls for Brian Bannister. And here's Scott Hairston, who was traded to the A's a little over a month ago from the San Diego Padres. He is the younger brother of Jerry Hairston. We saw him with the Reds, and now Jerry Hairston with the Yankees. Their father, Jerry Hairston Sr., played in the big leagues, and their grandfather, Sam Hairston, played in the big leagues. De Jesus is there in left field. That is a 6-pitch first inning for Bannister.
Out by the Oakland A's bullpen, and the A's relievers just walked in between the inning here from the dugout out to the bullpen, and the guy waving and smiling with the permanent smile on his face would be A's reliever Brad Ziegler. Of course, he grew up in the area in Odessa, Missouri, and so it is a homecoming for him. He was back here last year, but for him this season, he had really been looking forward to seeing New Kauffman Stadium, because he was telling me today and on our pregame show, guys, that he grew up going to Kauffman Stadium all the time as a kid, and he said the one thing it had was the fountains, but now to come back so much more. He said his parents picked him up at the hotel last night. He stayed in his childhood home and drove by the stadium, saw the lights. He had actually kept up to date on the stadium progress, guys, during the offseason by watching it online. Had a friend that was on the construction crew, so a nice homecoming for Brad Ziegler, guys.
All right, Joel, and Brad's saying he's leaving about 9 tickets tonight, but that's going to swell to 34 tomorrow. And even more friends and family will be coming beyond the pass list, because his buddies want to have tickets out by the bullpen so they can mess with him. The pass list does not include those seats, so a lot of his high school pals were buying their own tickets. 2-1 on David De Jesus.
Well, he's probably glad of that. Otherwise, he'd be the one buying.
David just 1 for 9 against the Mariners, but he had a walk and he was hit by a pitch twice. And Mazzaro gets a ground ball from him. 1 down in the bottom of the first. The A's on defense with Scott Hairston, Rajai Davis, Ryan Sweeney in the outfield, Adam Kennedy at third, Cliff Pennington at shortstop with the former Royals farmhand Mark Ellis, with Tommy Everidge on the right side, and Kurt Suzuki behind the plate for 22-year-old Vin Mazzaro from Hackensack, New Jersey. Josh Anderson 1 for 4 last night with a bunt single. Another ground ball to Pennington. 2 up, 2 down. Oh, he told you that Vin Mazzaro won his first 2 starts. He didn't just win 2 starts. We're talking 13 2/3 scoreless innings. So he was off to a great start, but now he's 0-8 in his last 10, and his ERA over that stretch is 7.22.
That's usually an indication of just poor command and poor location. He's got a real good running sinker, and he's gotten 2 ground balls already. He keeps the ball down and way the ball moves. I can see why he went so long without getting up an earned run.
Two and 0 to Billy. 7 hits and 11 at-bats in the Mariners series, including 2 home runs, giving him a new career high of 13. And he drove in 6 in the 3-game series. 2 balls, 1 strike. Three and 1. Mazzaro has been especially struggling in his last 4 starts. He's given up 6 runs or more in each of those last 4 starts. So just like last night's starting pitcher, Jason Vargas, for the Mariners, the Royals are facing a struggling pitcher tonight. And Mazzaro walks Butler with 2 outs, bringing up Brian Pena. Bob Guerin, former Major League catcher. And the second straight game that Brian Pena bats cleanup for the Royals. He has hit in 6 straight games and has a .325 average. Mazzaro throws strike 1.
Well, you can see where he's got good life on his fastball, Ryan. Usually when you go through what he's going through, it's kind of what you just saw right there. You get 2 quick outs, then you walk a batter, then now you got it. The opposition got a chance to put some runs on the board. And you look at Bob Guerin right after that walk, he's shaking his head like, oh, here we go again, kind of a situation.
The A's have an extremely young starting rotation, so I imagine that Bob Guerin has shook his head a few times this year. Mazzaro 22. Trevor Cahill, who pitched last night for the A's, is 21. Brett Anderson 21. Gio Gonzalez 23. The Royals will see the last of those pitchers in this series as another ground ball ends up in the glove of Pennington, and Mazzaro has a scoreless first. Colorado.com. No score to the second inning. Brian Bannister just breezed to the A's on 6 pitches in the first. Now he gets Jack Cust, Kurt Suzuki, and Tommy Everidge. Jack Cust with a home run and 7 RBIs against the Royals back in May when the A's swept a 2-game series from KC. Royals had a 5-game road trip, 3 in Anaheim and 2 in Oakland, and went 0-5. That was after the great 18-11 start. And the A's were having an awful time on offense when the Royals showed up in Oakland. Their record was just 11-18, but they outscored the Royals in 2 games, 19-5. And it's 3-1 on Cust. He will strike out. He is second in the league there. He will walk, 8th in the league there. He only has 16 home runs. 3 balls, 2 strikes. We had a similar player in the Tampa Bay series, Carlos Pena. He had a lot of strikeouts and a lot of walks, but about 10 more home runs.
That's the one that's hard to kind of figure out. You get the walks and you get the strikeouts, but the strikeouts are double the walks. Seems like that Cust is the easy guy to strike out if you get the ball in the strike zone.
Here's today's AMCO AA MCO clutch play of the week. And we go back to Sunday, 7 shutout innings for Brian Bannister. The Royals on offense were no hit for 7 innings, but rallying late and winning the game 4-1. Bannister giving up just 5 hits, no walks. He struck out 7 Rays and improved his record to 7-7. Throws strike 1 to Kurt Suzuki. Brian's 117 pitches in that game against Tampa Bay, the second most in his career. So we'll see if there's any after effects tonight. Plus, this is really the first game the Royals have played in a long time, if not the first time this year, in a really hot, humid Kansas City-like day. Ball gets away from Brian Pena, and Cust moves up to second base.
Well, I think August is going to give you quite a few days like today, Ryan. The only good thing about playing in this heat is that when the sun goes down, it's pretty cool. You get a Sunday afternoon, that's a whole other story.
There's a pretty shot from Rival Sports Bar out in right field. Bannister's got it. And he's going to run right at Jack Cust. Cust stays in the rundown long enough for Suzuki to move up to second base. So in the end, it's really not a bad play. In fact, it probably works out for the A's because now the runner at second base has a little better speed.
Well, Bannister did everything right on his play, Ryan. He went down and at what we call a banana rod. He goes down below and come work himself back toward the runner. But what he wants to do here is he wants to get him going fast. He Cust tricked him by taking a couple steps towards second and coming back. But if he runs him all the way back to the base, then gives the ball up, now Suzuki doesn't have a chance to go to second base.
So Suzuki at second for the rookie Tommy Everidge, who's going to get a lot of playing time at first base. Jason Giambi had been on the disabled list for a while with a thigh injury, and today the A's released him. So that opens up that position for another rookie. Giambi was really scuffling for the A's, playing in 83 games and batting just 193. Tommy Everidge is playing in just his 11th game. He was born in Santa Rosa. He grew up in Sonoma, California, which is only about 50 miles from Oakland. So he grew up following the A's as well as the Giants. Drafted by the A's in the 10th round of 2004. Bannister's ahead, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Over to former A's second baseman Mike Gallego. One of your old contemporaries.
Yeah, I tell you what, I like the way he played, though. He played very aggressive second base, and he played the game hard and did a lot of little things that you do, like Bud hit behind runners. He was real good at that.
Mike Gallego and Jamie Quirk for a while were part of the same coaching staff in Colorado.
I think they both were let go at the same time as Clint switched his staff around going into the 09 season. Dwayne Murphy at first base, played against him with the A's, and he was one of those. He was a very good outfielder, but he had some power, big swing, always swung hard, but played real good center field. Yeah, Dwayne Murphy was one of that group between him and Tony Armas that when MC Hammer was the bat boy for the A's, that loaned him the money to get started. For all the fans that remember who MC Hammer was, this is Hammer time.
Well, did they get their money back before he lost all that money?
I'll ask him tomorrow.
Okay. A leadoff walk to Cust. He was erased on a fielder's choice, and now Suzuki at second base. Betancourt to the middle, can't get it. Suzuki had to hold, but it's going to come around third to score. 5th RBI for Tommy Everidge, and the A's take a 1-0 lead.
But Banning was supposed to get this changeup. This changeup was supposed to go down and in, was down out over the plate, and Everidge was able to get off the end of the bat and get it up the middle. And going back to what Ryan was saying, switching those base runners really made a big difference on that base hit. If the Royals will run the rundown play back to second base and prevented Suzuki from going to second base, they would have saved themselves a run right there.
Want to know on Ryan Sweeney. Sweeney has spent some time on the disabled list this year. He had a left ankle injury back in June, and the A's have had an awful time the last 3 years keeping players healthy. They've used the disabled list 14 times this year. They used it 25 times last year. And if you combine 2007, 2008, and this year, the Oakland A's lead the major leagues in trips to the DL 61 times. Two and two.
Well, that's really an amazing number, Ryan. When you look at the fact that the guys are better trained, you know, they have their physical therapist, the massage guy, the trainers, the nutritionist. They got so many things going for them, but yet some teams just aren't able to stay healthy. Some players just aren't able to stay healthy, and it's beyond me. I know when we used to play the season, and once the season was over, we were done. I mean, we were done until spring training. I mean, we always got together like right after New Year's, and we started training for the next spring. But you always have to wonder if, with the way things are now, players having to be almost ready when they come to spring training, maybe they're not taking enough time to let their body recoup from a 7-month season.
Well, it's not a contact sport, but the body sure wears down like it's a contact sport over the course of 7 months, including spring training. And then, of course, if the team goes to the postseason, it could be almost 8 months. Sweeney is out. Everidge back to first, 2 down in the second inning. Saturday afternoons were made for baseball, and this week Fox brings you the national game of the week as Jason Bay and the Red Sox head to the Bronx to take on Derek Jeter and the Yankees. Fox Saturday Baseball this week at 3 p.m. on Fox. And it's 0-1 on Mark Ellis, former Royals draft pick back in 1999, taken in the 8th round and then traded to the A's in the deal that also sent Johnny Damon to Oakland and brought Angel Baroa to the Royals. Another ground ball out for Brian Bannister. He's out of the second, but the A's take a 1-0 lead. The Indians, or K, Kansas City, or R for the Royals. You had A for A's, B for Baltimore, C for Cleveland, and D for the Royals. Text 432-432, enter keyword Royals, a space, and your selection. Standard text rates apply. As Mazzaro throws out Alberto Callaspo. So Mazzaro, with his sinking fastball, all 4 outs for him have been on the ground. And stepping in is Mark Tien. Only 2 hits against Seattle in the 3 games, but he drove in 3 runs. Mark batting at .282. One ball, 1 strike. Suzuki wants the pitch inside. It stayed out over the plate. So Mazzaro got away with one there. That's not where Suzuki wanted it. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Now he wants the pitch up. So Suzuki about stands up. 2-2.
He just have to overemphasize and make sure he sees exactly what he wants to do. And some catchers will pound that ball in the mid in the dirt, and some catchers will actually stand up like Veritek. You know, those just stand up, but you run the risk of a guy throwing a ball about knee high. You got to be ready to get back down there too.
And Tien takes a walk. Good at bat. He was down. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Mazzaro walks his second. 1 on, 1 out. The Royals and Farmers Insurance are going to salute uniform heroes, including military, police, and fire personnel, beginning tonight. Uniform heroes can get half-price tickets for all 3 games with Oakland at the stadium box office. We'll salute the military tomorrow and honor police and firefighters on Sunday. And now Suzuki runs the ball out to Mazzaro after he misses badly inside to Mike Jacobs. Jacobs only 1 at bat in the Seattle series, mostly because the Mariners threw out 3 lefties at the Royals, and this is going to be the only right-hand pitcher the Royals are going to see as far as a starter goes on this homestand. Tomorrow it's a lefty, Brett Anderson, and then on Sunday a lefty, so 5 of the 6 starters the Royals will face are southpaws.
Well, you'd think Mike Jacobs would look at that rotation too, and if he's not playing against lefties, and he better be really motivated against his right-hander tonight to have a good night, because he might not be out there the next couple of days.
And playing mostly against righties because of those numbers. 1 home run against lefties and batting below 200. Jacobs hit 2 of his 14 home runs when the Royals were in Oakland in May. And he hits that one into left center field. Tien will hold at second base, so Jacobs going the other way. And the Royals have runners at first and second with 1 out.
Well, that's a real good start for Mike Jacobs. You can see right here, Ryan, he really just pulls his hands in and forces this ball out over shortstop. You could tell when I was actually trying to go that way because his swing kind of looks the same way, but he just stayed in the strike zone a little bit longer that time and caught the ball on the bat at a good spot.
So 2 on for Alex. Alex had 5 hits, including a home run against Seattle. And since he's been back from the disabled list, Alex is hitting .313. Way outside, it's 2-0. Trey Hillman still easing him into everyday play, giving him about 1 game off per series. He wasn't in the starting lineup last night, and he's batting 8th tonight. 2 balls, 1 strike.
I talked to Alex and try to get him to tell me what he was trying to get to accomplish the second half of the season, and he said basically health will be 1. Get through the rest of the season without any further health issues, and also he want to try to hit 300. That's his goal, to try to get hot and finish the season strong and hopefully right around 300.
Pennington's been busy, and that little bobble cost the A's a double play. So the Royals still breathing in the second inning, and have runners at first and third with 2 outs.
This ball is really hit hard by Alex, and I think Mark Tien did a good job of really just being a distraction there at shortstop, and that's where the bobble came from. You know, Pennington had let the ball pass Mark, and it just got on him, just like it went right through him, and he just got way up into his hip, and he had a hard time getting it out of there.
Ball 1 to Unieski Betancourt. 3 hits, 3 RBIs against his former team. All of his hits for extra bases. 2 doubles and a triple. Grounds it left side and through, and the Royals have tied the game in the second inning.
was a sinker coming down and in. He just stayed with it, got it on a good spot of the bat, and got it right past third base. But I tell you, that's a good piece of pitching right there. He did a good job running the ball in, and I think he wants those right-handers to roll over on that ball like that, Ryan. But Benko was able to get it in a good spot on the infield.
David Jesus grounded out to short in the first inning.
The A's infield definitely got to be ready for ground balls. They got that. Other than just maybe you see the stuff, but you just don't see the command and hitting the glove. But when he does get the ball over the strike zone where he wants it, then he usually does a pretty good job.
Driven to center. Davis misplayed it, but because of his great speed, he's able to correct. And that saved 2 runs. Royals tie it in the bottom of the second. You saw the beginnings of Brian Bannister's professional career when you were broadcasting his games in the Mets minor league system.
It's hard to believe that it was 4 years ago now. Yeah, but you could definitely see the major league talent was there. He was a lot of fun to watch while he was in Binghamton, and it's just great to see him having the success he is now.
Robert, did you have any idea at that time that he was such a mathematician when it came to taking the mound, or did that not apply in the minor leagues?
You know, he was always a guy who was interested in his numbers.
Pennington into right center field and drives it over Tien's head. The Royals just tied the game, but back come the A's with a runner at second base and nobody out.
Well, this pitch, Pennington want this pitch away. Bannock cut it inside, and Pennington really got the hit of the bat on it. You can see Bannock was really upset at himself because he missed his spot. And when we talk about pitching, Robert, that's mainly what we're talking about is location. If pitchers hit their spots, then hitters most likely aren't as successful as hitters.
Right, and you know, getting back to Bannister and the stats at the minor leagues, obviously there was no xFIP when he was pitching in Binghamton, but he was always a guy who was interested in his numbers and how his numbers can help him. I mean, we've all known players who have been a little too interested in their numbers and not really concerned with how they can help the team.
Now Kennedy lays down a bunt. Vanny has to hurry and got him by about a step. So the A's, this is a new approach for them, laying down bunts, stealing bases, and they have Pennington at third base with one out. There's Kennedy, who grounded back to Bannister first time up, thrown out by Bannister on the sac bunt.
And but yeah, Bannister was a guy who was always interested in his numbers and how they reflected his performance and what he was doing on the mound. He was always very curious about that, even with the relatively rudimentary numbers at the minor league level compared to what you can get at the major league level. But he was always a guy looking for that edge. He always kind of knew, even in Double-A, that he wasn't going to have the stuff to be a frontline starter just by stuff alone. He always knew that he needed more. He needed something extra. And that's part of the reason why when he was in Binghamton, he first started throwing the cut fastball.
It's 0-2 on Davis. How was he regarded in the Mets organization at that time? Was he a guy that they thought would eventually get to the big leagues?
Oh, absolutely. I think they were very high on him, and they knew that he was a guy who had a chance to be a successful big league pitcher, a back into the rotation starter, and he wound up in the Mets rotation the very next year. Started off the 2006 season in the Mets rotation, partly because of some injuries, but also because of the way he had performed in spring training and actually did pretty well. And then he had that hamstring injury while running the bases in San Francisco after about 10 or 15 starts with the Mets, and wound up never pitching in the major leagues with them again, and of course coming here.
That deal sending Ambioris Burgos over to the Mets. Royals trading away one of their homegrown young good arms, and Burgos with some arm troubles and other troubles when he was with the Mets. And Brian Bannister's been a great find for Dayton Moore. That's going to be a long run for Tien, but that'll slice back into the seats. Robert, you also had Mike Jacobs in the Mets organization, so coming to the Royals by way of the Marlins, but actually began his career with the Mets.
Right, yeah, and he was, it's funny, watching Jacobs now at the plate and watching him in Binghamton in 2005, had a great year, hit, I think it was 25 home runs. He had a 22-game hit streak and then got called up to the New York Mets and hit a home run in his first major league at bat. And you look at him now, and having seen him in Binghamton, his approach is pretty much the same stance, same sort of swing, and it still looks like very much the same hitter that he was in Binghamton. I think part of the reason he has struggled this year is I think he has struggled sometimes to hit the ball to the opposite field, which is something he can do with authority and something he was able to do when he has been at his most successful.
Davis works at full count, so after falling behind, now 3 balls, 2 strikes. Bannister got Davis on a ground ball to short in the first inning. Did he have that same rah-rah leadership type mentality when he was with the Mets?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. He was definitely a guy, and he was one of the older players. He had been with Binghamton in 2003 and had a decent year then.
De Jesus coming up on it. Pennington tagging. A good throw will get him. And just enough to the first base side. Pennington scores. Pena didn't hang on to it, but even if he did, Pennington may have gotten around a tag, and the A's take a 2-1 lead. So a double, a sac bunt, and a sac fly getting him home.
Well, David did a real good job getting behind his throw and did a good job letting it go. Painted it. He just could hold on to this ball. It would have been a little bit closer play. And that's what you want to try to do as a catcher. That short hop you should catch. That in between one is tough, but that's a catchable ball. And if you catch it, it just makes the play look that much better.
So the base is clear and 2 down for Scott Hairston, flied out his first time. We've heard about Mike Jacobs being a catcher. Did you see him as a catcher?
I did.
What kind of a catcher was he?
Not a very good one, to be perfectly honest with you. And I mean, because in 03 he had played with Binghamton and had a decent year. 04 he started off with the Mets AAA affiliate, which is in Norfolk at the time. And after about a month into the season, he tore up his shoulder and missed the rest of the year. And so they sent him back to Binghamton in 2005, really to learn how to play first base. They let him catch a couple of times a week. But they had at the time, Binghamton did Joe Hippis, who was considered one of the top catching prospects in the Mets organization at the time. And so they wanted Hippis to get most of the time behind the plate, but they did let Jacobs catch a couple of days a week. I think it was really tough for him to get used to the fact that he wasn't going to catch.
Hairston lines out. Robert Ford gave up the lead, but good to visit with you anyway. You can hear Robert pre and post on the Royals flagship 610 Sports. Thanks, Robert. For the Chiefs in 91, the Royals in 97. Westwood, Kansas resident, Korean War veteran, just celebrated his 80th birthday. And he has been responsible for preparing the field for all 43 Super Bowl games. And he's enjoying the game tonight from the Buck O'Neil Legacy seat and wearing a T-shirt with a picture of him and Buck on it.
George was a great guy. I mean, this has got to be a treat for him to sit in the stands and watch a game.
Josh Anderson strikes out on 3 pitches. That's Mazzaro's first. One down in the bottom of the 3rd inning. Tonight's Roadrunner Turbo speed pitch comparison. Mazzaro's hit 96. Brian Bannister at 89. You can double your speed with Roadrunner Turbo from Time Warner Cable. When I arrived in Kansas City, George Toma was winding down and really just helping out the Royals in spring training at the old Baseball City complex. And with all the technology that's available today, the machines that are available today, the thing I'll always remember about him is 2 or 3 times a day at Baseball City, he would hand drag the infield, and that took a long time.
Well, if you were here around lunchtime on game days when he was here, he would do the same thing. I mean, he'd be the one doing it. He wouldn't ask his ground help to do it. He'd be the one out there doing it. And when I was a kid growing up, when they were at the old stadium, he would let us. He would sneak us into the game around the 7th inning down left field bullpen.
Billy on base twice after a walk in the 1st inning. And that brings up Brian Pena. Fox Sports Kansas City and the Royals present a special Royals telecast tomorrow when we recognize American troops serving overseas throughout the game. Troops worldwide will watch the game on American Forces Network, and we're going to connect with the men and women of the Missouri National Guard based in Afghanistan. So we hope you'll watch tomorrow. Coverage begins at 5:30. Brian Pena grounded into a fielder's choice that ended the 1st inning. Left field, and Scott Hairston is there. 2 down. Now temperatures getting up into the mid-90s in Kansas City, 90 degrees at first pitch. And this time of year, that means the wind is blowing out of the south. That's right to left. So if the ball is high enough, balls hit to left center field and left field are going to get some help.
Good day to be a right-handed hitter. You're right. You get it up in there to win the day, it's going to go. That's a big win that's up high.
The only series I can remember to this point where it's felt hot like Kansas City in the summer was the Cardinals series, and then the Arizona Diamondbacks series right after that. And the ball was flying, and with some new configurations with the remodeling, people ask how is that going to affect the flight of the ball. Skyasco lines it just over Ellis. Butler will stop at second. So Skyasco is 1 for 2, and the Royals have 2 on with 2 out. Royals baseball brought to you tonight by the State of Missouri Tobacco Quit Line. Call 1-800-QUIT-NOW. One strike to Mark Tien, who walked with 1 out in the 2nd inning and scored the Royals run. One ball, 1 strike. Now that area there, Rivals, that's the big question. The wind's coming in. Is it going to hit Rivals and shoot straight up, or to the right of Rivals? Is it going to create a wind tunnel in between the right side of Rival Sports Bar and the upper deck on the right field side. Those were two theories. Either Rivals was going to knock down the wind, or it was really going to concentrate the wind in that area there in between Rivals. And you can just see the corner of the upper deck there. With that little space in there, create like a funnel wind tunnel and really blast the air out to left.
Well, I'm not sure. I know that when I was playing, when the weather got hot, the ball really traveled in the alleys.
Big hop puts that ball in right field. And a great tag by Suzuki as he got Butler on the way to the plate. The Royals still down by 1 at the end of 3.
That was a strong thought of a run scoring, but this turned out to be a great play on Sweeney and Suzuki's part.
Well, with George Toma here tonight, thought maybe the Royals were going to get a magic hop there and tie the game. And Jack Cuss gets it to the right side. So the A's have the leadoff man on for the 3rd straight inning. Tonight's league leaders brought to you by your Kansas City area Toyota dealers, and the fewest home runs allowed in the American League this year. The Boston Red Sox with 98, then the Royals. Even though the Royals have been giving up a lot of home runs lately, still the 2nd fewest. And the Oakland A's have only given up 109. One thing the Royals and A's have in common is they both play in ballparks where it isn't very easy to hit home runs.
Big ballparks.
Kurt Suzuki reached on a fielder's choice in the 2nd inning and scored on a single from Tommy Everidge. Royals tied it in the bottom of the 2nd. Betancourt singling home Tien, and then the A's with a run in the 3rd, regaining the lead on a Davis sac fly.
Yeah, Suzuki's one of those hitters, Ryan, that really likes to hit the ball the other way, and you know, Beller's playing behind Cuss to take some of that away because Cuss doesn't run that well, but he's got to be close to him because they could put a hit and run on, and that's the way Suzuki likes to hit the ball.
Jack Cust is running. That's right. And Suzuki fouled it away. And Joel Goldberg has made his way down to George Toma. Joel.
Yeah, we're swapping some stories off camera, so let's start right now. You were just telling me about a young Frank White.
Young Frank White was one of the best ball players I ever saw. But when young Frank White went to Lincoln High School and there was bleachers down the left field line in Lincoln High School, he would go down to Bryant's Barbecue and buy some French fries and watch the game from those bleachers. You couldn't see the whole field, but he was there every night watching the game. Then about the 7th inning, we opened up the gate. He'd come down and sit in the stand. But in this game today, I think Frank is one of the best players I have run across, not only as a player, but in the materialistic world of today, he has never lost the common touch.
We will agree with that as well. I was just talking to one of our other broadcast partners, Paul Splittoff, and he said, "Oh, you're going to talk to the nitty-gritty dirt man." He said, "Well, ask him about Cookie Rojas." He said, my second or third day in the big leagues, and I'm up there, and George Toma's yelling at Cookie for being on the grass, and thinking, man, it's Cookie Rojas.
Well, I used to give everybody heck, but we're all big family. We just do that to have fun, Sometimes the ball player will say, hey, get on that ball player. But it's one big family, and I'd like to go on and say this is a pleasure to be here tonight, and especially a great pleasure. And one of the best groundkeepers in the league today is Trevor Bounce. And I talk to many ball players in spring training. I do 9 weeks of spring training for the Twins, and they love Trevor and the field here.
Well, we will all agree with that as the play at first, and Royals complete that. Nice job in the infield there. I want to talk to you a little bit about Buck O'Neil. We see you've got a T-shirt with yourself and him. You just handed me a picture, that same picture of you and Buck. How much does it mean to be in the Buck O'Neil seat tonight?
It's an honor and a pleasure, and 3 little words, and then some. I started back in Pennsylvania, and I remember back in the 40s, this is 67 years in the game, where they used to come in Wilkes-Barre-Scranton area and play baseball. Then when I came here in 57, they used to come here and play, and then Indianapolis Clowns with Ben Kerner and the great basketball scout Marty Blake, they would come. But Buck is a legend, and I love Buck with all my heart, and then some.
Well, we appreciate the visit. Congratulations on being in the Buck O'Neil seat for everything you've done in the community and for the NFL and all over the country. And you celebrated your 80th birthday at the Super Bowl, is that correct?
Super Bowl. They had a party for me at midnight on the field my groundhog, February the 2nd. But I never met anybody that was bad in baseball. It's great. And I'm for the Glass family. They're going to turn this thing around, but you have to have patience. We'll get back during the glory days. Talked with Dayton Moore today, and I'm pulling for him. He's going to do the job. And they got in my book, they got a good ball club. I thought we'd be 10 games over 500 this year, but we're going to get there. Don't give up.
Well, pleasure and an honor to have you here tonight. Appreciate the time.
Thank you, and I just love your program, but the only thing wrong with them keeps me up to midnight. 80 years old, that's too late.
Well, we need some quicker games. We get some quicker games, we'll get you to bed by about 11 o'clock.
Thanks a million for having me, and to you, all your broadcasting people, everybody in the stadium, around the Royal Nation. May all your good fortunes be as numerous as blades of grass, and then some.
There you go. Can't really say it, guys, any better than that. The legendary George Toma. Let's go back upstairs to you guys.
All right, thank you, Joel.
And then some. It's always and then some. Every time he ends a sentence.
Ball gets away from Pena, and coming in to score is Jack Cuss. Pena actually made a pretty good play to get the ball to Bannister. So a pass ball and a wild pitch, helping Jack Cuss come around after he led off the inning with a single.
Pena tried to jump out there. The ball came up off his right hip. That was a real tough ball to block right there, Ryan. He slid to his right. The ball came up a lot harder than it normally does. And like you say, he made a good throw. Vanny made a good catch, but West wasn't in time to get the out at the plate.
And then another ball gets away from Pena. So he and Brian at the moment aren't on the same page as far as Brian being able to anticipate. Now Bannister can do a better job of keeping the ball out of the dirt, but then the catcher has a responsibility of anticipating where that ball is going to be.
Well, if you're throwing a slider or a curveball, then I think catchers anticipate those balls being in the dirt. But when you throw your cutter and your fastball, you don't really anticipate those balls being in the dirt. And I think the cutter is what got him right now. It's a little quicker than the breaker, than the slider and the curveball. When he hits the ground, it always comes back. And your first reaction for a catcher is try to backhand that ball. When he hits the ground, it's going to come back into his body, and it's going off the top of the glove.
Ryan Sweeney flied to left his first time up. So Everidge at first and one out. And now it's 2-0. Certainly not lost in this inning for Oakland was the ground ball hit by Kurt Suzuki. You get the leadoff single from Cust. He goes to second base on the pass ball, and Suzuki, who had 2 strikes on him, didn't take a pretty swing, but he got the job done getting it over to the right side, and that set up Cust coming home on the wild pitch. Drilled to center, right at Anderson. The ball is carrying. It's done that a few times tonight for the outfielders. A little late carry. But Sweeney is out, 2 down in the 4th. And that's just the way the A's are going at it right now. That's the type of roster that they have. No more of the money ball approach. A lot of big guys who get on base with walks and drive them in with doubles and home runs. The A's are last in the American League in home runs. And they're 11th in the league in on-base percentage. 1 strike on Mark Ellis. Grounded into a fielder's choice in the 2nd inning.
Well, it's no secret that the more fundamentally sound your team is, the more chances you're going to give yourself to score a run. If you're going to sit back and not take advantage of advance the guy from second to third with no outs, or don't take advantage of the sacrifice when you can, then you only hurt yourself.
And now Ellis into center field. Everidge will stop at second. So 2 hits in the inning. 3 base runners, a run home. And now Cliff Pennington, who doubled his first time up against Bannister. The A's had a bad year on offense last year as well. They were last in the American League in runs scored, last in the league in team batting average, last in the league in slugging percentage, so they didn't have much power, and they were last in the league in on-base percentage, which really stings with the way the A's go about it. So they tried to help the offense by signing some veterans like Nomar Garciaparra, Jason Giambi, Orlando Cabrera, and then they made a trade for Matt Holliday. Right now all of those guys are gone except for Garciaparra. In our sprint you call it, without giving you the answer, 33% of our viewers think the A's are the youngest team in the American League. Keep voting. 432-432, keyword Royals. A for the A's, B for the Orioles, C for the Indians, and D for the Royals. Pennington hits it hard again to the outfield. Tien is back. It's over his head. And with 2 outs, the runners are going on contact. And another double from Pennington will drive in 2. And now Oakland takes a 5-1 lead.
Vanny, this changeup, Ryan, this changeup just stayed right out over the plate. It didn't do much at all, and then lefties like that ball down and in, and Pennington really golfed that ball over Tien's hand. He really hit over his head. He really hit that ball well, and just got 2 RBIs with runners running with 2 outs. That made a big difference, right? Because Tien really played it well off the wall.
Adam Kennedy is grounded out and laid down a sac bunt. One ball, 1 strike. Kennedy playing over at third base. He was traded for to play second when Mark Ellis was on the DL, but along the way, Eric Chavez had more back problems and he's done for the year. So Kennedy has moved over to third base, and he has played well there, and he swung the bat well. 2 balls, 1 strike. That pitch stayed up, and the count is 3-1. Kennedy's been a good hitter overall, and he's been very good with runners in scoring position, and he has Pennington down at second base. But he'll take a walk, and that's Bannister's 3rd tonight and his 2nd in this inning. Frank, not to hang this on Brian Pena, but with the ball skipping by Pena, some wild pitches and a pass ball, does that make Brian maybe a little, Bannister I'm talking about, tentative with finishing his pitches? Is that going to cause him to say, well, I better make sure I don't throw this ball in the dirt, and you leave it up?
I would say maybe with the cutter and the fastball, but I think if he's going to throw his curveball and his slider, I think that he's got to be ready to make that play. I think it's just a matter of Brian just not hitting the spots right now.
Davis is safe, beating the throw from Cayaspo, and Trey Hillman is going to go out and argue it. Looked like the right call. One of the first things we all learn in Little League is the tie goes to the runner, and that might not even been a tie. Rajay Davis may have even gotten his foot on the bag before the ball was in Butler's glove. Here's another angle. Looked like the right call from first base umpire Jeff Kellogg, the crew chief.
Well, this play here, Ryan, when you look what this ball is, this is a ball here that I think Betancourt should have come across and took and called Alberto Cayaspo off the ball. Cayaspo was actually on the shortstop side of second base when he made that backhand. So if he's moving toward first base, so he has a better chance to make that play.
Through the left side. This might score 2 more. Pennington scores, Kennedy scores, and it's 7-1 Oakland in the 4th inning. So Hairston drives in his 2 with his first hit tonight. And the A's will bat at least 10 in the inning. Brian is going to throw his 30th pitch of this inning. 70 total. Only a 43-30 strike to ball ratio, brought to you by James B. Nutter and Company. Brian has walked 3, 2 in this inning, no strikeouts. And Robinson Tejeda just starting to heat up.
I think right there you see Ryan, they just weren't that hole out between Gordon and Betancourt right on that cutter. He's hitting the ground balls, but they're hitting it in a perfect spot on the infield.
This time Pena able to block it enough to keep the runners from advancing. Bannister with a wild pitch in the 2nd inning. A wild pitch in this inning, allowing a run to score, and Pena has committed a pass ball. Big swing and a foul ball from Jack Cust, who began this inning with a single. No glove. Well, this is not the way that Brian Bannister has been pitching. In his 7 starts before tonight, his ERA was just 2.58. The A's have tagged him for 7 in less than 4 innings.
The biggest difference I see, Ryan, is just location, just not hitting the glove and maybe just trying to make those pitches a little too fine.
The A's have been clutch in this inning as far as driving in runs with 2 outs. And they're 3rd best in the American League in situations like this. Pennington has driven in 2 with a 2-out double, and Hairston has driven in 2 with a single. The other run coming home on a pass ball. Check that, a wild pitch. Still 2-2 on Jack Hust. Davis at second base, reaching with the infield single. If the Royals throw him out, the inning is over, but the A's adding on 2 more after that on the Hairston base hit. And timeout was called by Tim Timmons right before the pitch. The A's are playing well. Now their record is 47-61, and at the moment they're in last place in the AL West by a wide margin, but they just took 3 out of 4 in Texas, and before that they had a homestand where they went 4-3. So this is one of those series where you don't necessarily pay attention to the overall numbers, you look at how they've been playing lately.
And that's true, and I think the biggest thing when you see the A's now, they're playing a totally different game than they normally play. Normally it's like sit back, no bunting, no hit and running, just swinging the bat. And Bob Guerin with these young guys, they just say we're going to change this game plan around. And you've seen tonight where he's incorporated pretty much everything into the scoring of these 7 runs.
Got the call in the corner. Cuss knew it. The A's bat 10, score 5. A's with 5 in the 4th inning, lead by 6. Brian Bannister faced 10 in the inning. Here's the Arby's pitch by pitch, and the final out, his only strikeout against Jack Hust.
Yeah, Brian really hasn't had the command that he wants, Ryan, but here he's able to put together some tough pitches. Hust fouled off some tough 2 pitches there, but he was able to come back and drop a cutter right on the outside corner.
So the Royals down big early. It'll be Jacobs, Gordon, and Betancourt in the 4th. So Vin Mazzaro, who hasn't won a game in forever, has 6 runs to play with. 1-1 on Jacobs, who singled his first time up. Mazzaro has lost his last 8 decisions. His last win was way back on June the 7th. Well, we were talking to Robert Ford from the Royals radio flagship 610 Sports and about Mike Jacobs when he was in the Mets organization, and Robert was broadcasting those games at Binghamton and talking about how Jacobs used to hit the ball to the opposite field quite a bit, and that really didn't change for Mike Jacobs until he went to the Florida Marlins organization. Takes a leadoff walk, and that's the last thing that Mazzaro wanted to do with a 6-run lead. But Jacobs was a guy that used to spray the ball all around the ballpark, but when he was traded to the Marlins at the big league level, he was replacing Carlos Delgado, and it was made very clear that the Marlins needed a big bat in the lineup, a powerful bat, and maybe yielding to some of that pressure is when he became more of a pull hitter.
I think the one thing coming back to a ballpark the size of Kansas City is that if you can go back to being somewhat close to what the hitter you were with before you became the big league first baseman replacing a guy like Delgado, then you would have some success here, and that's what Kevin Seitzer preaches all the time. And you saw a little bit of it in spring training, but as the season progressed, he just got more and more into the pull mode.
And then there's the human side of Mike Jacobs, where I'm sure he wonders what's going to happen to me next year. Are the Royals going to bring me back? Will the Royals offer me a contract next year? Am I going to be a free agent? And I don't think there's any bigger, better team guy on the roster than Mike Jacobs, but at the same time, he's got a family. He'll be wondering about his future and whether he comes back with the Royals or goes to another team. He needs to have some numbers.
Well, you got to have numbers. You're coming off a 32 home run season and 90 plus RBI, and you want to at least come close to that to give yourself some confidence in what's going to happen next year.
Alex is 0 for 2, popping out here to Adam Kennedy. 1 on 1 out with Betancourt coming up. This is one of those times of the year, Frank, I would think, where a manager earns his money. The team is not playing well. Guys want their numbers. There are less than 2 months until the regular season is over. How do you still keep them playing as a team as opposed to splintering into individuals?
Well, I think you just got to keep pointing out to them that this is a business. It's all about numbers. It's all about production, and the guys that produce are going to play. And I think that you also have to point out to them that they have to do a self-evaluation. How are you playing? Are you where can you improve? Are you doing everything you can to be a better player? And I think a lot of guys who are struggling would probably feel like, well, if I get more at bats, then I could turn this thing around. But sometimes if you're not mechanically sound doing the right things, more at bats could also make the situation worse. So you got to be willing to go to the hitting coach, and at some point you got to break it all down, and you got to start all over again. But as a manager, basically you just have to be straight up with them, honest with them, and I think players generally still want to go out there and perform well, but it's an individual thing now. But from a manager standpoint, it's just being real with them. You got to hit them between the eye with it, because it's all out there in the numbers, and you can't sugarcoat it any other way.
So if the players are concentrating on their numbers, then the manager can use that as evidence why they're not in the lineup.
Right, and I tell players all the time, I said it doesn't really matter whether you're going to blame the manager or you can blame anybody, but the best thing a manager can do for you is put your name in the lineup. And once he puts your name in the lineup, then it's up to you what happens to you.
No double play. The A's get the force on Jacobs. So 2 down, and Betancourt at first base. Tomorrow, the first 20,000 fans are going to get the Frank White replica Hall of Fame figurine. It's part 3 of the 4-piece collectible set. First pitch at 6:10, but the Royals are going to open the outfield gates at 4 o'clock, so come on out early. Zach Greinke pitching for the Royals, and Brett Anderson is going to pitch for the A's. Ball one to David DeJesus, 0 for 2, and lost an extra base hit on a running play by Davis in left center field in the second inning.
No, Ryan, just continuing our conversation about managers this time of the year. I think players tend to blame the manager when they don't have good years, but when they when they have good years, then the manager don't get any of the credit for it. And I think that's where the fine line is that if you're not playing well, then you're just not playing well, and you can't expect the guy to keep running you out there if you're not playing well.
Two and one. And at some point, you have to take a look at some younger players and see what you have as you start looking forward to next year. So Josh Anderson is going to get a lot of playing time in the outfield. Mitch Meyer will continue to get some playing time. Brian Pena has already begun his stretch of games behind the plate. The Royals want to see what they have in him, especially as a catcher. It's been a tough night for him tonight.
Well, and you look at all that staff down there and the manager, players, they'll talk about how bad they want to win, but I don't think there's any player that wants to win any worse than a manager and his staff, because they put in a lot of hours to try to put the game plan together every day and try to get to understand the players and what they do well. And when the game starts, they want to win.
Davis sprinting deep into center field, won't get this one. So DeJesus is going to drive in Betancourt. And now David on his way to third, and he has tied Willie Bloomquist for the league lead in triples.
This kind of gives you an idea, Ryan, of the strength that David does have. When he gets this pitch and puts a good swing on it, he can really drive the ball. And to get the ball over Rajai Davis' head like that, a guy with that kind of speed, you really had to crank it pretty good. And then Betancourt was able to score easily on that triple.
Kurt Young, a former A's pitcher, now the pitching coach, making sure that Mazzaro doesn't let this inning get away from him. And now Josh Anderson, who has grounded out to short and struck out. That's Mazzaro's only strikeout so far tonight. 0-1. Right to Ellis at second base, and that's the inning. Royals get a run in the fourth and trail by 5. in his start on Sunday against Tampa Bay, against one of the best offensive teams, 7 shutout innings, and now against one of the teams at the bottom of the American League, the A's tagging for 7 runs in 4 innings.
Well, that's true, Ryan. He had a 6-pitch first inning. It looked like he was ready to go, and they, when he ended last the game, was after 80 pitches. So just to me, what I saw was just not being able to hit the location. You look at where Brian Pena was sitting and where the pitchers were. He was just off all night.
So that means Robinson Tejeda will take over in the top of the 5th inning, and will be a long night for the Royals bullpen. Let's give the Royals at least 5 innings. Kurt Suzuki will lead off. 0 for 2, has reached on a fielder's choice and scored. And Tejeda should get an out on just 1 pitch. Betancourt takes care of it, so a good start for Tejeda. And up comes Tommy Everidge. Everidge singled in a run in the 2nd inning and walked and scored in the 4th. And with the A's wanting to see more of him, they released veteran Jason Giambi earlier today. So all those veterans that the A's brought in to help out a young offense, Giambi has been released. On July 24th, Matt Holliday was traded to the Cardinals. On July the 31st, Orlando Cabrera was traded to the Twins. So that just leaves Nomar Garciaparra, who is not in the lineup tonight.
Well, and he's had a couple stints on a DL also, so they really aren't getting out of it what they thought they would get coming out of spring training.
Two and 1. Ryan Pena almost stepped on his own helmet and makes the catch on Tommy Everidge. Well, it's almost time to go back to school, and we're losing a few of our interns, including Kyle Haas, who goes to Fort Hays State. He's been filing reports from around Kauffman Stadium, and tonight we catch up with him at the Royals Hall of Fame.
Thanks a lot, Ryan. I'm out here at the Hall of Fame, where there's tons of cool exhibits that are going on. But one thing I've really appreciated as a broadcasting major has been the Royals' recognition of broadcasters. Everything from Fred White and Bob Davis to our very own Hall of Famer, Denny Matthews. So when people are making their way through the Hall of Fame, this should be one of their stops they make. Back to you guys.
I have not been to the Hall of Fame yet. I want to get out there because it seems like I run into someone every day, and now Kyle is the most recent. Thank you, by the way, Kyle. Another great job. But I've heard nothing but great things about the exhibits, and I guess there's, what, a 15 or so minute movie that you watch in a dugout replica.
Well, I've been in it twice and haven't seen anything yet.
Because everyone wants to see you.
I went in and on Thursday night before it opened, I went in and sit down and watched the movie next to Buck's statue, and as soon as the movie got ready to start, you guys got to go take a photo. so I was out of there, and after that, it was a meet and greet after that, so I didn't get to see much. So I've got to wait for a day off, a complete day off, where I can come out and go through it.
Shallow left, and DeJesus coming up. So Tejeda out of the bullpen, works a 1-2-3 5th inning. Royals baseball brought to you tonight by Panera Bread. Explore a menu full of soups, salads, sandwiches, and savory breakfast items. Panera Bread, where every detail matters. And by AT. Switch to the fastest 3G network. AT, your world delivered. Bottom of the fifth, and the Royals are down by 5. Big inning tonight for Oakland. A 5-run fourth inning against Brian Bannister. And the A's tagging Banny for 7 runs in 4 innings. 0-2 on Billy Butler, who was walked, singled, and he's been thrown out at the plate. And gets that past Everidge and up the line. So down in the count, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Billy hits his 33rd double of the year.
You see with his pitches, Ryan, this is a sinker running down and in, and he really got inside this ball and cut it right inside the bag at first base. And that's just an outstanding piece of hitting. And you roll over on that ball, you probably hit it off your foot or something, but he did a good job getting his hand inside that pitch.
Now Pena breaks his bat. He was trying to get it over to the right side, but he is out. So 0 for 3, and Butler's still standing at second. Radio Shack presents What Do You Know? Well, Billy Butler has now hit safely in 13 of 21 games since the All-Star break, piling up the extra base hits. 5 home runs, including 2 on this homestand in the Seattle series. 5 doubles, including in his last plate appearance. Callaspo was threatening to lay down a bunt, but there's a difference between threatening to lay down a bunt and actually laying a bunt down.
You think he was just taking a pitch and just going through the motions right there?
Runner at second, 2 down. Well, what I mean is there are some guys in the league who will show bunt, but the advanced scouts, after watching players enough, will write down whether he's actually going to lay down a bunt or not, and whether you need to play in. I mean, if you're going to put one down, well, that's a completely different scouting report than, you know, showing it every now and then.
Well, that's true. And if you're a true bunter, then you want something to happen when you fake the bunt. You want to look back down at third baseman, and you want to see him come in a few steps. If he doesn't come in a few steps, then if you're a true bunter, you go ahead and bunt the ball.
Two 2-0 on Mark Teahan. Was walked, singled, and scored a run. Three 3-0. Pizarro has walked 3. He has struck out 1. The Oakland A's are in the middle of a stretch of 28 games in 28 days without an off day. This is game number 23. So that adds to how well they're playing right now. I mean, this is considered the dog days of the season, and it's to steal a line from a famous Christmas movie, this is a triple dog dare time of the year when you're going 28 straight games without an off day, and the A's are playing well.
Well, they're playing well. Normally you're right around 20, 21 days without an off day, but 28 days, the only plus to it is that you do have an opportunity to see your guys play on a more regular basis. You got a chance to do these little things that they're doing to see how well they're coming together. And also you get a chance to test those young arms and see if they can get better as that stretch develops.
TN still alive at 3-2. And at least in their last 2 series, as that long stretch is winding down, playing in some hot weather. 4 straight games in Texas, and they took 3 out of 4 there. And with the first pitch temperature at 90 degrees tonight, the A's have jumped out to a big lead early. Tien takes a walk, the second time he has walked tonight. So first and second with 2 outs, and Mike Jacobs to the plate. And another trip to the mound from pitching coach Kurt Young. Coming up on Saturday, August the 22nd, 20,000 fans will receive the 40th anniversary cap chosen by Royals fans. The design features a background and crown logo made from hundreds of Royals script logo representing the many fans who have stood behind the team for the past 40 years. Royals.com, 1-800-6-ROYALS, area Hy-Vee food stores, or stadium box offices for tickets. Ball 1 to Mike Jacobs. There's Santiago Casilla starting to warm up in the A's bullpen. The A's didn't want to do this with a big lead this early in the game, and just hoping that Mazzaro can give them 5 at least for now. And Mazzaro hoping for that, because he needs to go 5 to qualify for the win.
Well, they're really trying to massage him through this inning. They're doing everything they can to keep him on task to get him through this inning, Ryan, so he can qualify for the win.
Threw a fastball by him at 94. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Now you take a swing like Mike Jacobs, one is obviously he swings, right from the bottom of his swing. It's just more of a, I always say, more of a windmill type swing than a helicopter swing, and you always wonder why guys who are better roll ball hitters still chase the ball up.
Still a ball and 2 strikes.
Now view that, even the strike at the top of the zone, even if they foul it off, they'll say, well, just missed that pitch, but you're actually hitting the bottom of the ball, and you're hitting the bottom of the ball on the way up, and that's what creates your foul balls. But if you let the ball go down another 6 inches, now you're down into your zone where you can actually drive that ball.
In asking hitting coaches why some hitters and a lot of hitters have a tough time laying off the pitch that's up, great explanation is that the higher the pitch is, the closer it is to the eyes, so you see it better. It doesn't necessarily mean you can hit it, but your brain tells you to go after it because it's closer to your eye level.
But then you also have to make adjustments. You might swing at it once, but then you say, okay, I'm gonna leave that pitch alone the rest of the night. You can't. That's not your pitch. So your pitch is down, middle, to in, and that's where your eye level should be.
Jacobs evens the count at 2-2. Butler opened the inning with a double. He's still standing there with 2 outs. Tien at first, just reach with a walk. Stuck on 2 balls, 2 strikes. Jacobs' base hit was to left center field. And maybe sensing that Mazzaro could use a second to catch his breath. Kurt Suzuki goes out there to talk to him and also discuss what they want to deliver here with the count stuck at 2-2. And they're going to talk it over again. We'll remind you about Royals Alumni Fantasy Camp coming up February 1st through the 5th at the Royals Spring Training Facility in Surprise, where you'll play alongside and be coached by Frank, George Brett, John Mayberry, Dennis Leonard, Willie Wilson, Jeff Montgomery, and others. If you'd like more details, 816-504-4150 or the website royals.com. Three and two. But now the Royals have the added advantage of the two runners taking off on this pitch. And the Royals have very good speed at first base. And Martin. So there they go. And pulled through the right side. So Jacobs will score Butler to make it 7-3. So a two-hit night for Jacobs.
It's a 3-2 pitch, and this ball is down, and that's the ball that he's going to swing at. And he actually pulls his ball in the hole with the runners running. Just a good spot in the infield, and Mike Ellis just barely missed it on a dive, and Billy Butler running on the play was able to score easily.
So Jacobs has driven in 35. 2 on for Alex Gordon, and he fouls off the first pitch. A lot of squirming around in the A's dugout. Manager Bob Guerin spending a lot of time talking to pitching coach Kurt Young, and as if perhaps considering taking Mazzaro out before pitching to Alex Gordon. Alex to Everidge at first, took away an extra base hit and an RBI, and that's the inning. Royals had a run in the 5th. The 3rd inning. Subject to tonight's Coors Light Freeze Camp. Billy Butler at second base. On this base hit to right field from Martin. And Ryan Sweeney. His throw was up the line, but Kurt Suzuki able to grab it, apply the tag, and Butler was out to end the inning. Coors Light Freeze Camp brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. Second inning for Robinson Tejeda after the A's battered Brian Bannister for 7 runs in 4 innings. And Tejeda had a quick 1-2-3 fifth inning. It's 1-1 on Mark Ellis, 1 for 2, and has scored 1 of the runs. One ball, 2 strikes. Royals last night got 6 2/3 innings from their starting pitcher Bruce Chen, who ended that long winless drought which dated back to October of 2005. Royals avoiding the sweep of the Mariners and winning last night 8-2. Now Bruce can relax in the dugout and watch the game and talk things over with Luke Hochevar, who's going to start the game on Sunday afternoon, and that is supposed to be some kind of hot. Temperature up near 100 and the heat index way past 100. Down goes Ellis, so Tejeda has retired all 4 he has faced. That's his first strikeout. 1 down in the 6th inning. Tonight's copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Kansas City Royals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. The accounts and description to this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Kansas City Royals Baseball Corporation.
Well, Ryan, don't think we didn't look down the line and see who was pitching on Sunday. We always wanted somebody that was going to throw strikes and get us off the field quick.
Cliff Pennington, who was called up after the A's traded Orlando Cabrera to the Twins. He has 2 doubles tonight, 2 runs scored, 2 RBIs, and that's a smash into right field that bounces in front of Tien. So 3 for 3, and Pennington had already hit in 5 straight games before tonight. And the A's now with 8 hits in less than 6 innings.
Well, he's got some quick hands, and I think you can see it on that high fastball. That, I mean, he just got on top of that ball with his hands. Not a lot of body, but when you watch his top hand there, Ryan. As soon as that front foot hits, I mean, he just gets on top of that ball, and it just fires those hands through.
Pennington has not stolen a base yet at this level, but the A's have stolen 79 this year, and that's 5th most in the American League. Now he's running, and Pena down to second base, a little high with the throw. So number 1 for Pennington and number 80 for the A's.
Well, this is really a good pitch for Brian Pena to handle. Nothing in his way. Had a clear line of sight to second base, but just did beat the throw into second base. We've seen a million trips to the mound tonight.
Trevor Vance is going to need George Toma to regrow some of the grass in between home plate and the mound.
Have to do like they do in Detroit. We just cut it out. You just let them run that path right back and forth to the mound. Don't kill the grass.
George tonight is watching the game from the Buck O'Neil Legacy seat, and we heard from him earlier tonight visiting with Joel. One and one on Adam Kennedy.
I saw George once. He took some cotton and put it in his back pocket, and I don't know what the mixture he was using, but he actually grew grass in his back pocket just with this cotton. It was unbelievable.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Our producer Kevin Shank telling me about a time when he also proved that you could grow natural grass through artificial turf. And that was something that George Toma always claimed, and probably still does claim. You can grow grass anywhere. Now the type of grass might change depending on where you're trying to grow it, but you can grow grass anywhere.
And then some.
So Kennedy down on strikes. Tejeda struck out 2. 2 outs in the 6th inning.
Well, he's really done a good job of late, just coming in and just keeping the ball down and just hitting the mid. I mean, that to me, that was the big problem on the bullpen coming out. Was just they were just all over the strike zone, just didn't have any consistency in their location.
Now Rajai Davis, who has an infield single and an RBI and a sac fly. Speaking of grass, and we brought this up a couple of homestands ago, the Royals the last several years, once the hot summer months arrive, have been digging up the I think it's a blue rye hybrid that they use on the playing surface, but at least for the infield grass, digging that up and replacing it with a Bermuda type surface that loves heat, loves water. And I remember my last conversation with Trevor Vance about that a couple years ago, that it was a grass that actually can handle salt water. But the Royals would dig that up in mid-June, replace it with the brand new turf, and it could withstand the wear and tear that the infield grass gets with the extreme heat in Kansas City, and would just flourish under those conditions. But I don't know, maybe because of all the rain and the mild temperatures we've gotten this year, as far as I know, that's the same grass we've had since opening day.
Well, it hasn't been the dog days that we normally see in August here in Kansas City. I mean, you walk outside some days and you drench just stepping outside the door. But I mean, you look at a night like tonight, the nice breeze. It's just been a great homestand so far for weather.
The grass that they would use in the summer was lower cut and would be a little quicker. You talk about being in the right place at the right time. This guy just happened to be walking down the steps. He may have just arrived from Oakland, but he was just walking down the steps. It hit the concourse. Look at him. Oh, thank you. So I don't know if he went to the ball or the ball came to him. I think he was more interested in that vendor. Got himself a souvenir. A's scoreless in the 6th.
Edwardsville, Missouri. If the Royals hit a home run this inning, Rick will win $600. But if the Royals hit a grand slam out of the park, Rick will win $25 grand from Sonic and the Kansas City Royals.
And the Royals will be facing a new pitcher, right-hander Santiago Casilla, who has walked 20 and 40 in the third innings. And an ERA of 5.58. Another A's player this year that has spent some time on the disabled list. He had a bad right knee in early May. He'll face Yuniesky Betancourt. And the top of the order, David DeJesus and Josh Anderson. Betancourt has driven in a run. He has scored a run. One ball, one strike. Another base hit for Betancourt. Extra bases for Betancourt. So he has 5 hits on the homestand, 4 for extra bases. And for the second straight inning, the Royals have a leadoff double.
This is a fastball, Ryan, that just got up and in, and he's able to really pull his hands through and get the head out on this ball that was coming in up and in on him, and he was able to keep it fair, which is pretty phenomenal right there, right down the line. Just make a good turn. Normally you want to try to hit that inside corner of the bag. He kind of hits right in the center of the bag. You don't want to, really don't want to make a turn that big.
Now last inning, Billy Butler doubled. The Royals couldn't get him over to third as Brian Pena popped out to first.
Well, I think you still have to play the game the same way. I mean, it was still early enough that you can still try to execute and advance runners and score, get back in the game. So here's the same situation here for the Royals.
David swung the bat well against A's starter Vin Mazzaro, lining out to center field on a good running play by Davis, and then tripling over Davis's head in the fourth and driving in a run. His 50th of the year. And he hits it hard into right center. So it's a 3-run game as DeJesus drives in another run and has another extra base hit.
Well, he really jumped on this high fastball, right? I tell you, he's got a good swing going right now. This ball's really jumping off his bat, and this is a line drive that split both the outfielders. I mean, you can just see the hands come through. You see 2 hands on the bat, and the ball, and really the wrist don't roll till you get through the ball. If it rolled before you, that's when you top balls and hit high hoppers. But he drove right through this ball, and he just really stung it.
And another meeting of the mound for Kurt Young, who also pitched for the Royals briefly back in 1992. He was more of a control type pitcher. The veteran Russ Springer warming up in the bullpen.
You kind of get the feeling that Kurt Young and all these young pitchers are really really cautious with these guys. A lot of trips to the mound. What he sees, I'm not sure, but maybe he looks at it like, okay, you gave up a big hit, you gave up a run. Now let's calm it down. Let's go after the next hitter. But this might be a record for pitching coach going to the mound in a ball game that's just just finished 6th inning.
Well, it looked like Anderson was trying to bunt for a base hit on that first pitch. That might change now to a sacrifice bunt, trying to get DeJesus over to third. Anderson so far tonight has grounded out twice and struck out.
Yeah, this is a huge run here. If you get him over there and you get him in at 7-5 with a 2-run game, and so I would stay with the bunt. If you don't think you can pull a ball, you got to stay with the bunt here.
Takes a fastball at 96 up and away. This would not be an easy guy to bunt.
It doesn't look like it. He's got a good running fastball that runs hard away from a left-hander, so you got to either be able to bunt him or you got to be able to drive the ball to the outfield.
Down 1 ball, 2 strikes. Was off speed and had him out in front, so he appeared to be triggering early, thinking it was a fastball and hook it, but Santiago pulled back. Now Josh really needs to shorten up and make sure he gets at least a ground ball to the right side. On the outside corner. So Anderson is 0 for 4 with a couple of strikeouts. And DeJesus at second with 1 out. Coming up on Sunday, the first 10,000 kids age 14 and under will get a Royals chest protector backpack. And if you're out shopping for back-to-school supplies and you end up with some extra supplies, bring them to the ballpark for the Royals Wives back-to-school drive. Gates B and C before the games. Ball 1 on Billy Butler. Billy walked in the first, singled in the third, and doubled and scored in the fifth. He is hitting at .298. 2 balls, no strikes. Billy has faced Santiago KCA twice, or make that 4 times, and he has 2 hits. Got in on the hands, and Billy slams the bat down as he jogs to first, and Davis retires him. So the Royals have a run home, but after the run scored, still a runner at second and nobody out, and David DeJesus still standing at second base.
The left-handed hitter like Anderson, when you're up there, you have the ability to bunt, and you get that runner over, they get him in a 7-5 game and still got plenty of time. You bat last. And I think a lot of times you get the pitcher knows what you're trying to do too. So this is when they say, okay, what's the game giving me? He's going to throw the ball to the outer half. He's going to make it hard for me to pull the ball. So I might as well go ahead and bunt the ball to third, advance the runner, and then I help my ball club at the same time.
Brian Pena 0 for 3. And he batted after Butler doubled leading off the 5th inning and popped out to first. Royals eventually got Billy to the plate. So the Royals have scored 4 runs. And in the last 2 innings, they've had a runner each with a leadoff double, but haven't necessarily scored that runner because of good situational hitting. In the 5th, it was a 2-out single from Jacobs that scored Butler. And in this inning, DeJesus was trying to pull it to the right side and ended up with a double. The Royals obviously will take that, but David still at second with 2 away, and it's 2-1 on Pena. Pennington at short, and the Royals continue to chip away at what was once a big lead. Now they're down by 3. AT&T, the nation's fastest 3G network. AT&T, your world delivered. Seven to 4 A's as we go to the top of the 7th inning. Scott Hairston, Jack Cust, and Kurt Suzuki coming up. K-State head basketball coach Frank Martin, perhaps talking baseball tonight.
Got an intense look about him.
That's about as relaxed as I've ever seen him. Scott Hairston is 1 for 3 with a 2-run single in the 4th inning. And that was the A's biggest inning when they scored 5, and that was Brian Bannister's last inning. And now Robinson Tejeda's pitched 2 scoreless innings with 3 strikeouts. Two and one. So the A's now in 3 games against the Royals have outscored KC 26-9. Good pitch at the knees. There is nothing Hairston could do with that. It's 2-2. Strikeout number 4 for Tejeda in 2 1/3 innings. The Royals need a lot from their bullpen tonight after Bannister went 4 innings. And Trey Hillman might get 3 innings from Robinson Tejeda. Second game of the series is tomorrow. It's in high definition, brought to you by Time Warner Cable, where HD is free with digital cable. It'll be Zach Greinke against Brett Anderson. And don't forget, tomorrow the first 20,000 fans getting the Frank White Hall of Fame figurine.
The smiling figurine. You know, maybe this role for Robinson Tejeda is what fits him. You know, early in the year, this is the situation that he came into the game quite often and really did a good job, and he's done a similar job tonight. I think you call him the mid-game stopper.
He's had some good outings for the Royals in long relief. In fact, last year the Royals needed an extra starter because of a day-night doubleheader in Cleveland, and they used him as a starter. And you know, guys who can throw hard and at times go all out, maybe if they have a role as a long reliever, thinking they have to pace themselves, will pull back a little bit and might not get the velocity that they like to have, but more command and control. And he's had a great outing so far tonight. 2 down in the 7th inning. Remember, you can stay connected to the game on your computer with MLB.tv. Get 100 out-of-market games per week. Catch games you missed on demand. And a premium subscription allows you to pause, fast forward, and rewind live games. Get details about MLB.tv today at Royals.com. One strike on Kurt Suzuki, who is 0 for 3, but he scored a run. 0-2. Pena wants the pitch up. Although Suzuki at times has proven to be a good high fastball hitter. So if you're going to pitch up to him, you want to make sure you get it up and out of the strike zone.
Yeah, he kind of shortens up with 2 strikes. He likes to try to go the other way, and anything up with 2 strikes is a little bit easier to hit for a guy that can shorten his swing and go the other way.
A tough night for Brian Pena behind the plate. Brian Bannister had a couple of wild pitches. Brian was charged with a pass ball, and now with a glove malfunction. And Jeff Stevenson, one of the Royals athletic trainers, will fix that up for him so he can use it in the 8th. Two and two.
That's one of those things those trainers learn in the minor leagues is how to fix gloves. You know, they get the little stringer and they can do it. Some guys can do it really, really fast. You know, Frank Kite is real good at it. Jeff Stevenson's real good at it. Nick, when he came up, you know, he was real good. That's all the trainers know how to. You can give them a glove and they can relace a glove in hardly no time at all.
Shallow center field. So in 3 innings, Tejeda faces 10, retires 9 with 4 strikeouts. Seven 4 A's as we go to the bottom of the 7th inning here at Kauffman Stadium. Elsewhere, here's the Panera scoreboard. Boston and New York, no score in the bottom of the 9th inning. How about that? After the Yankees finally beat the Red Sox last night. Yankees with a 3.5 game lead. Tigers over the Twins. Tigers leading by 2 over Chicago in the Central Division coming in tonight. Baltimore beats Toronto. Chicago risks falling behind by 3 games, and Cleveland hangs on. Cleveland, all those trades, and now all they do is win. Texas in front of Los Angeles. Rangers 4.5 back of the Angels in the West. And Tampa Bay at Seattle, no score. Seattle was just here, taking 2 out of 3 from the Royals. This is Craig Breslow. Royals saw him earlier this year when he was pitching for the Minnesota Twins. So that moves Alberto Callaspo over to his strong side of the plate. You might remember a game in May that the Royals won in 11 innings at the Metrodome. And when the Royals scored late, Breslow came on and couldn't throw a strike. Knocked down by Pennington and didn't get Callaspo. So Alberto with his second hit. And the Royals now for the fourth consecutive inning have the leadoff man on.
Well, Pennington did a great job knocking this ball down, Ryan, and keeping it right underneath him. And got up real quick, made a nice throw, but Casper did a great job of hustling down the line. You can see here, he just didn't really get his glove open enough for the ball to go in, but he did keep it under him, and then he made a quick throw. Now, Casper, what they don't like to see, what most of your coaches don't like to see, you run hard down the first baseline there. They want to see you continue that run. They don't want you to hit the bag and stop in the next 4 or 5 steps. That's where you get some hamstring problems.
That pitch gets away from Suzuki, and now, well, make it 3 consecutive innings. Now the Royals with a runner at second and nobody out. Pass ball charged to Suzuki. T and 2 walks, a single, and a run scored. To the right side. So Tien gets the job done. Callaspo moves up to third base. And now Mike Jacobs coming up. Let's check in with Joel Goldberg.
Well, we got a good post-game show, guys, coming up. Paul Splittorff and myself. And if anybody has questions for Split, you can text them into 432-432 space KC space, and then you can type in your question and then your first name and the city that you are in, and we will try to answer some of those questions. I have a feeling, guys, that Split and I are going to have a lot to talk about. Still plenty going on in this game. We got it all coming up on Boulevard Royals Live.
All right, Joel, and another trip to the mound from Kurt Young, as John Buck is going to bat for Mike Jacobs. So the lefty comes on for Oakland. The game I was talking about was May the 2nd. Twins and the Royals going into extra innings, and the Royals getting 3 runs in the 11th, and Craig Breslow, who was then pitching for Minnesota, had 3 walks. R.A. Dickey also had a walk, and the Royals won that game 11-7.
That's the game where R.A. Dickey wasn't allowed to throw his knuckleball.
Yeah, Joe Mauer had just come off the disabled list and had not caught R.A. Dickey's knuckleball, so he came on with the bases loaded, and Ron Gardenhire said this is not the time for Joe Mauer to try and catch a knuckleball. Slice towards the seats on the right field side and drops in between the wall and Ryan Sweeney. It's 0-2 on John Buck. Similar location where John Buck fouled out to end the game, and Ichiro Suzuki made a great play up against the barrier wall and near the tarp. And Buck down on strikes, so unable to get the fly ball, and now Alex Gordon will bat against Breslow with 2 down. Alex 0 for 3, lost a hit, an extra base hit perhaps, and an RBI in the 5th inning. Hit a shot up the first base side, and Tommy Everidge, diving right at the bag, caught it, and that ended the inning. The A's at one point tonight had a 7-1 lead with a big inning, a 5-run fourth. The Royals have scored in the 4th, 5th, 6th, trying to score here in the 7th. So they're chipping away, but the A's have done a good job of making sure the Royals just score 1 and not turn that into a big inning. 1-1 on Alex. Alex has faced this pitcher 3 times, 0 for 3 with a couple of strikeouts. 2-1. Breslow, originally drafted by the Brewers in the 26th round in 2002. He pitched at Yale and then was released, pitched in the independent leagues, and got back into pro ball with the Padres. Deep center, Davis still going back. He's got it. So Alex didn't quite get it, and the Royals come up empty in the 7th. Three hits, 2 RBIs, 2 runs scored. David DeJesus for the Royals has driven in 2. Yuniesky Betancourt has scored twice. And the Royals have been chipping away. They just haven't been able to come up with the big inning. And Trey Hillman has gotten a huge lift tonight from Robinson Tejeda, who's going to try and give him 4 innings out of the bullpen. So it's possible, depending on who comes on for the 9th, and even though Ryan Bannister goes just 4 innings, that Trey will only have to use 2 relievers. And 3 scoreless innings for Tejeda so far with 4 strikeouts. Only 1 A's hitter has reached, and that was Pennington with a single in the 6th inning. Tommy Everidge is 1 for 2 with a walk. No balls, 2 strikes. So a 5-run 4th inning for Oakland, and since the 4th, they have 1 base runner.
And when this inning on the mound is over for Robinson Tejeda, this is where Trey Hillman just got to give him a big old slap on the back and say, job well done and thank you very much.
1 down in the 8th inning. So Tejeda working on his longest outing of the year. He is at 3 1/3 innings. Earlier in the year, and before he went on the disabled list, Tejeda was Trey Hillman's fireman in the middle of the game, the equivalent of a closer, if you will, but coming on in the 5th and 6th innings when the Royals were in a mess and Trey needed to point to someone who could get a strikeout, and that role was really working well for Tejeda, but hasn't really been used in that role since coming back from the DL. He was out with a bad shoulder. 3 flyouts for Ryan Sweeney. This will be the longest outing for Tejeda since that day-night doubleheader we were talking about last inning when the Royals used him as a starter and he went 5 innings. Two and one.
But the one thing he's showing, though, with his arm and his pitch repertoire, when he throws strikes, he produces outs. And when he gets in trouble is when he's behind in the count and the hitters are able to lay for him and he's got to throw that fastball in there, and that's when they get on him. But when he's ahead in the count, he's pretty nasty.
He had a similar outing for the Royals in the first game in Baltimore when he went 3 innings, gave up just 1 hit, and then a couple of nights later came in out of the bullpen, gave up back-to-back walks, and both of those walks coming around to score. And when you have an arm like his, you really don't have to be too fine with your pitches. You can throw strikes, stay ahead in the count with 96, 97. It's going to be a long night for the other team.
It will be, and now he's throwing a few more change-ups, and that makes his fastball appear a little bit faster. But just getting that change-up to work, that's the key.
That ball's hit hard and deep to right and tee into the fence. Ryan Sweeney has hit his 4th home run of the year. So Sweeney worked a full count and got a pitch up. And the A's score for the first time since the 4th.
Well, this is a change that I was just speaking of, Ryan. If it doesn't go down, it's very hittable. This is 85 miles an hour right down the middle of the plate, and Ryan Sweeney didn't miss it. But I'm just one to think when you get to 3-2 and you can throw 97, 98 miles an hour, I would rather give up a home run on that fastball than I would on a changeup.
You see Donnie Miller out there in right field?
Did he pull a Frank White?
He did. Of course, he has a pretty good excuse. He's got, several $1 million camera.
Wow.
Let's look at that again. The thing about Donnie is not only did he get out of the way, but like a member of the Secret Service, he just sacrificed his body to protect that camera because that's a big part of our broadcast. I mean, the equivalent of stepping in front of a bullet.
That's probably what it felt like.
Yeah. Watch this. Oh, I guess I didn't get a very good look at that.
I mean, I think he did the smart thing. He turned the camera lens away from the ball and he walked away. He's a several $1 million camera. He moved it, and that's what I do. If I was playing today, I have $7 million hands. So I just get them out of the way. He's a lot stronger than I am, though, so he can probably take a hit better than I can.
Well, that's a former NFL outside linebacker we're talking about. When you got an NFL fullback bearing down on you, I don't think you're going to be intimidated by a little white baseball.
I don't know. You'd be surprised. I've seen some of those guys come, when Willard and Aaron, those guys come over and take BP. You'd be surprised. They're the ones that think we're crazy.
Really?
I'm serious.
And now Ellis to left. The wind blowing out that way, but didn't get enough of it. And De Jesus is there for the second out. So 2 down, and now Pennington, who is 3 for 3. The Royals, the state of Missouri, and Fox Sports Kansas City have joined together to encourage young people not to smoke because once you start, it's hard to stop. Strike out tobacco so we can all breathe. Call the Missouri Tobacco Quit line at 1-800-QUIT-NOW. So Tejeda gives up the home run, but he also gives Trey Hillman 3 2/3 innings out of the bullpen, and John Bale takes over. Hale will try and nail down the final out of the 8th inning. Coming on for the 31st time, and his ERA is up to 6.75 with 16 walks in 20 innings. You Call It, presented by Sprint. 47% saying the Royals are the youngest team in the American League. And the answer is the Cleveland Indians. Actually, the Royals are the oldest of that group, and you can also factor in the Minnesota Twins. And the Indians are younger now after trading away Cliff Lee and Rafael Betancourt, Victor Martinez. Pennington, a switch hitter, moves over to the right side, 3 for 3 as a left-hand batter, including a couple of doubles. And Bale gets the job done as Pennington flies out to the bottom of the 8th. Now the Royals are down by 4. His living room tonight. Speaking of Joel, here's tonight's Mercedes-Benz E-Class Attention Assist of the game.
Well, this is that high hopper that went over Donk Ellis's head, Ryan, and Sweeney made an outstanding throw to the plate. Suzuki made an outstanding play coming up the line and make the tag on Billy right on the shoulder.
Bobby Crosby is now at first base, so Tommy Everidge is out. And right-hander Michael Wirtz is on the mound. It'll be Betancourt, DeJesus, and Anderson in the 8th inning. Ben Mazzaro, who hasn't won since June the 7th, went 5 innings, gave up 3 runs. Santiago Casilla gave up 1 run in the 6th. Craig Breslow a scoreless 7th. 2 balls, no strikes. Good night for Betancourt. 2 hits, including a double. 2 runs scored and an RBI. Two and 1. Just below us, bouncing off a table and going up into the Diamond Club. 3-1. Make that 3-2. Talked about it earlier on the homestand. The Royals have been really working on Betancourt's approach at the plate, not necessarily his swing or his mechanics, but he is such a good athlete and has such good hand-eye coordination that he has gotten by basically by just going up and looking for any pitch to hit, as opposed to going up there with a plan and looking for a particular pitch until 2 strikes, and then he has to be a little more defensive. Hairston waiting for it to come down. 1 down in the 8th inning.
And I really like the approach that Kevin Seitzer takes. It's the same approach he had in spring training, where the guys seem like they really bought into it. And it's approach Bainley, just stay in the alley, straightaway center. I don't want you to swing any softer. I want you to take your same swing, but try to generate your bat speed and everything in the center, so when the ball is inside, you can keep it fair when you happen to pull it. And that, somewhere along the line, when the season started, they kind of got away from that approach, and that's what he's been pounding into them. And you look what they did in spring training when there was some belief there.
And it's not just the numbers that the Royals put up in spring training, because obviously those games don't count and the pitchers aren't really throwing their A game, but it was where the Royals were hitting the ball.
It's just where they were hitting. They were driving the ball and staying on the ball, and that's all he was trying to say. He was just, I don't want to take any of your aggressiveness away. I just want you to center that aggressiveness into the middle of the field and to give you a better chance to stay on the ball longer. And now you're able to drive the ball out of the ballpark to left center and right center.
One and 2 on to Jesus, who has 2 extra base hits and 2 RBIs. Tripled in the 4th inning, tying Willie Bloomquist for the league lead with 7, and doubled in the 6th. 2 and 2. Off the foot. And David going to walk that one off. You could hear him say, ow.
Well, that's what happens when that breaking ball's coming into you. You don't get it. You don't get through it, Ryan. You don't get inside of it. So if you watch this swing right here, you just hit around that ball, and when you hit around the ball, you hit the back side of it and pull it right down into the foot. And you take that ball and you drive it. Now that's the same pitch you drive right to left center field, straightaway center field. They always say you can't let the top hand take over until you get through the ball.
Suzuki pointing down. He wants his pitch down and away. And too low. So 3 and 2 on David. Michael Wirtz, originally from the Cubs organization. 11th round pick in 1997. Up the middle, Ellis, good backhand play, tough throw, and Crosby couldn't stretch enough. So David with his 3rd hit. And Mark Ellis almost made an outstanding play.
Sure he did, Ryan. He did a good job ranging to his right, and he catches the ball in good fashion here, but where the mistake comes is throwing the ball down low. Then your body going that way, you're going to pull the ball. What you want to do is let the right foot hit, then come back over the top, and that'll keep that ball straight for you.
Now ground ball base hit through the left side for Josh Anderson. So he's 1 for 5. And that puts 2 on for Billy Butler. In case you're keeping score at home, producer Kevin Shank has informed me, which I want to pass on to you, that Josh Anderson is the 4th Anderson to play for the Royals and the first non-pitcher. Can you name the other 3?
Oh, Brian Anderson would be one.
Yep.
The pitching coach for Minnesota,
Rick Anderson.
Rick Anderson.
Yep.
Yeah, I was here when he was here.
Okay. I'll give you a hint on the last one. His first name was Scott.
Scott Sears.
1 and 2 on Butler. 2 hits, a walk, a run scored for Billy, including his 33rd double of the year. And a little better this year with runners in scoring position. Billy has driven in 6 on this homestand. The pitch got away from Wirtz. That's not where Suzuki wanted it. And it's 2 and 2.
That's the big difference in where he wanted and where the pitch ended up. I mean, you can see his wrist really turn over and really push that ball up and in.
Left that pitch up. He's lucky that Billy fouled it back into the screen.
Well, that's true. And when fans hear us talk about fastball command or hear coaches talk about fastball command, this is what they're talking about. They're talking about being able to throw the ball where the catcher wants the ball. If he wants it outside, get it outside. And if you miss a little bit more outside, then miss more on the plate. And when you watch the replays of home runs, always watch, or big hits, watch where the catcher sits and where the pitch is.
Wanting to go outside again, and Billy grounds it to second, and Ellis begins a 4-6-3 double play. The Royals are scoreless in the 8th.
Waning is, so
It's one of those two.
it's that one.
The Royals down by 4.
Waxing is big, waning is small.
Okay. So
There's something about the day one with the shadows on the right side. I haven't got all that down yet.
well, after the game, stay tuned for Boulevard Royals Live with Joel and Split at Rivals Sports Bar. Brought to you by Boulevard Brewing Company, Kansas City's beer. And Frank is going to take part in the post-game show. You going to answer some questions?
No, whatever Joel throws at me and
Okay.
whatever Split throw at me, I'll just try to come up with something intelligent to say.
Adam Kennedy is 0 for 2. He's laid down a sac bunt, which helped lead to a run in the 3rd inning, and then walked and scored in the 4th. The A's with 7 runs in 4 innings against Brian Bannister and getting 5 in the 4th inning when they batted 10. Second inning for John Bale, his first full inning at the last out of the 8th after Robinson Tejeda really picked up the bullpen tonight by going 3 2/3. Gave up a solo home run to Ryan Sweeney in the 8th inning. Kennedy to Butler, 1 out in the 9th. And now Rajay Davis. Davis 1 out of 3 with an infield single. He's driven in a run with a sac fly. His infield single was a big part of that 5-run 4th inning. Deep short, and Betancourt probably realized he was going to have to hurry because of Davis's speed. Lost the grip, and we'll wait and see how they score it. Davis is on with 1 out. It's another infield single for Rajay Davis.
Well, with his speed and this ball is hit deep shortstop, Betancourt comes over, but he turns his head a little too fast and loses the exchange, and that really cost him the play. He's got the ball in good shape here. Now watch what his head does, and anytime your head leaves early, that exchange is hard to make, and they always say you got to secure it before you can throw it.
Davis has stolen 18 bases. Now his single back in the 4th inning didn't produce any runs, and he didn't score. But the A's had scored 3 in the 4th, and Davis hit a little bouncer up the middle, and Alberto Callaspo going over to the left side of second base, cutting in front of Yuniesky Betancourt, and Frank thought it was an easier play for Betancourt than it was Callaspo. Callaspo's throw was late, so rather than getting the final out of the inning on that ground ball, it extended the inning. And then Scott Hairston, who bats now, hit a 2-run single, so that turned a 3-run inning into a 5-run inning. And right now, that's the difference between the A's having a 2-run lead and a 4-run lead.
I agree with that. I think that's what you call having your communications together I mean, very rarely your shortstop crosses on the second base side or second base cross on the shortstop side. So when that happens, one guy, the shortstop's always got to be the captain out there. So when the second base cross is over, then you got to call him off because you're going toward the plate and he's going away from the plate.
Not sure if Davis is conning John Bale, but it appears that he's not reading his move. On the 2 pitches to Hairston, he took a good step or 2 back towards first. So either he's not reading it or he wants John Bale to think he's not reading it, and maybe setting him up for taking off on first movement. Not running, and Hairston fouls it away. For years, the A's did not believe in stolen bases, and they were always at the bottom of the American League in stolen bases, and I mean way at the bottom. And the A's did not believe in sacrifice bunts. They did not believe in giving up outs. And their research told them that it's better to sit back and wait for the bigger innings. Davis running, and that's a fair ball down into the corner. So Davis coming around third, and Hairston has driven in 3 tonight, and now the A's lead by 5 in the 9th inning.
He just got right out in front of a changeup, and he just really did a good job of just mainly keeping this ball fair, and just right down the line, and got in the corner with Rajai Davis' speed. I mean, not only he's even running hard, it's like he runs hard a little bit, slows up, picks it up a little bit more, but it was easy for him to score on that play.
Breaking ball got away from Bale. Jack Cust is 1 out of 3 tonight. So a couple of things have changed for the A's. They really don't have the roster right now where they can take the walks and sit back and wait for the big innings. They don't have much power. Now, this is a guy who hit the ball out of the ballpark, but he has only 16 home runs, and the A's are last in the league in home runs this year. They have a home run tonight from Ryan Sweeney. So that has changed. Plus, I think we're starting to see the game change, and you can attach any kind of assumption you want as to why we're not seeing as many home runs or as many players shaped like Greek statues. But so sitting back and relying on the 3-run home run is becoming a thing of the past, and I really believe we're going to start seeing teams running more hit and runs, laying down more bunts, as opposed to the late 1990s and into the early parts of the next millennium, where it was just bash ball and just, as former Royals manager Tony Muser would say, just gouge each other's eyes out.
Well, that old saying, I don't want to give any outs away with bunting when I can sit back and wait on a 3-run homer. But you're right. I go back and watch the MLB station sometimes, and you see how small the guys were compared to how big they were coming up through the 90s. It's amazing. I would say, well, did these guys, they always said when I came in the game, your baseball muscle is supposed to be wiry and strong, straight and strong, and not bulky and strong. But there was a period where everybody would look one way one year and look a different way the next year.
Well, that really began with this franchise with Jose Canseco, and he really muscled up. He was a really skinny player when he was first drafted by the A's, and his career turned around when he hit the weight room. And then Mark McGwire really muscled up, and then with all their success, all of a sudden every other team in the big leagues had a weight room. Bale strikes out Jack Cust, 2 down in the 9th inning. Cust strikes out for the 2nd time tonight and the 125th time this year.
Remember, weights for us, we didn't get weights here at the stadium until 1983. Everything else we did was pretty much isometric. Wherever you can make for yourself to work. You use the bands, you get a 10-pound weight and you tie a cord around it and you tie it around and you just do your wrist curls and things like that. It's just amazing how when the weights did come in, because in '83 that was really the first year I actually started lifting weights, and I put on about 10 pounds just over the winter just lifting weights.
The irony about it, though, is that guys are supposed to be in better shape now, but nobody plays 162 games anymore, or if they do, it's a very small list. It seems like players need more time off now. More players appear to be going on the disabled list more. And all this with players supposedly in better shape, better condition.
Well, I agree. I don't think the travel schedule is any different. You're still playing the same amount of games on the road as home. But you hear a lot about, we came out, we took infield pretty much every day. We averaged probably somewhere around 145, 146 games a year. But now it's about, well, guys don't want to come out, they don't want to heat up, they don't want to cool down. It just changed a lot, and I think it's really hurt the game to some degree.
Good play by Betancourt to end the inning, but the A's had a run against Bale. Now the Royals have to score 5 in the 9th. 11 in 8 innings against 4 A's pitchers. Well, everything you knew about fantasy football is about to change. Introducing the all-new Fox Fantasy Football with more customizable features and new ways to play. Log on to foxsports.com on MSN and join the next generation of fantasy football. Right-hander Jeff Gray appearing for just the 5th time. Born in Texas, but grew up in the St. Louis area. From Lafayette. He played high school ball with Ryan Howard for 1 year, and then Ryan Howard moved on to Southwest Missouri State. And he served as one of the recruiters for Jeff Gray. Said, hey, you need to come play here. And so Jeff Gray followed Ryan Howard and played his college ball at Southwest Missouri State, and then drafted by the A's in the 32nd round in 2004. So one of those players that has the deck stacked against him as far as getting to the big leagues, but here he is.
And you're seeing a lot more of that this year, of guys who weren't drafted very high, but they were able to get through it and get to the major leagues. Guys who actually quit and come back. Guys who went to independent ball and come back. It's just some guys who got hurt, took a little time off, come back. So I don't know. I don't know whether the game is coming back to the players or just standing still and waiting for the players to catch up. But some great stories in there. I mean, great stories.
And most of the guys that get to the big leagues are first, second, third round picks, and that ability gets them to this highest level. But there are a few guys that kind of slip through the cracks and are taken in the later rounds, or as you pointed out, go the route of the independent leagues and just kind of hang in there. I think about Scott Richmond, who pitches for the Blue Jays, and he didn't play college ball until he was in his early 20s and was taken out of the independent leagues by the Blue Jays, got to the big leagues. Chris Jakubauskas, we were just talking about him last night with Seattle. 4.5 years in the independent leagues and taken by Seattle. He's in the big leagues.
You tell stories about
Pena into left center field. So he's 1 for 5, and that extends his hitting streak to 7 games.
I mean, you told stories, Ryan, about scouts who discovered guys who are doing lessons, and you all to try out and get in. Moms who encourage their sons to keep going, don't quit. The Angels had a picture where the wife just said, you know, just stay in there and keep plugging along. And I mean, but you have to have a certain amount of mental toughness too to be able to do that and stay with that. So it's all these guys' credit that they were able to, through whatever reinforcement they needed, they were able to hang in there and get to the big leagues.
That's a good point, because there's no shortage of guys out there who can throw 92, 93 miles an hour. I mean, minor leagues are filled with those guys.
Right.
You know, there are guys in rookie ball and A ball, you know, a million miles away from the big leagues, and they're throwing 93, 94 miles an hour, and most of those guys never get here.
They never get here, and you could probably go through some independent league rosters and find guys like that. But all it is just stand with it until you get your command down and the right scout, because independent leagues are scouted just as well as any of the other minor league teams, and that's a big area. That's a big place where teams go in AA, AAA when you need extra players and your A-ball guys aren't ready to move up.
Hairston runs down Cayaspo's line drive, so Pena at second base with 1 out, and up comes Martin.
Maybe one day someone will just decide to write a book about those type players who think it's all gone, and through some reinforcement of a family member, coach, scout, former players that you played with, they come back and they make it to the big leagues, and those all make great stories.
Well, one of those stories was made into a movie. Remember the movie The Rookie about Jim Morris,
right?
The former minor league farmhand for the Milwaukee Brewers, who had some arm troubles, quit, went into teaching, and was teaching, I believe, in Texas and coaching baseball, and one day was throwing batting practice to some of his hitters who began to complain that he was throwing too hard. And this is a true story. Hollywood may have embellished a few details, but his team made him promise that if they won a certain amount of games or won the league or the region or something like that, that he would go to an open tryout for the Tampa Bay Rays. Well, that happened. He goes to the tryout, the Rays sign him, and he gets to the big leagues. And it was because of his high school players and their urging to try and get back into professional baseball.
That's why when you play this game, you never know. That one day that you decide that you want to take a day off or you don't want to give your best effort, you never know who's in the stands watching you play, and that's why you keep encouraging your players. Once you step on the field, you always got to go hard.
Steve Kurtenbach, our director, reminding me that it was Big Lake, Texas, is where Jim Morris was coaching and teaching. And he spent a few years in the big leagues after having been out for 2 or 3 years. The arm healed after he had some sort of rotator cuff injury. Up the middle. And Ellis gets T in. Pena to third base, 2 down. And then there are stories like Brian Pena, who defects in Venezuela, leaving the Cuban junior national team, not speaking one word of English, defecting with the help of a guy he had never met before, not knowing where he was going. 16 years old, leaving all of his family and friends behind. Ball 1 on John Buck, who took over as the DH in the 7th inning, pinch hitting for Mike Jacobs, and struck out against Craig Breslow.
Now that would be a book that I would read. I mean, you're talking about it being inspirational, and it can help you in so many ways.
Unievsky Betancourt has been on Royals Live with Joel and using Brian Pena as an interpreter. And Unievsky doesn't like to talk a whole lot about his defection story, but some of the details that have come out. He spent several days in the water on a raft, ended up on a smuggler's boat. Shark infested waters at that, and some people in his group lost their lives. So taking that kind of risk to leave a communist country and onto much bigger things in the United States. There was Kendry Morales, another Cuban player who defected and failed 5 or 6 times and was imprisoned because of that, but just kept on trying and finally got out of Cuba. So many great stories, and all of them coming together in our great country to play a kids game.
And happy to be here.
Center field, Davis is there. So the Oakland A's, with a 5-run 4th inning, take game 1 with the Royals winning 9-4. The Royals chipping away tonight. Got themselves back into the game with single runs in the 4th, 5th, and 6th innings, but just could not come up with the big inning. So Vin Mazzaro wins